Well, we're at this again, Dave, quite frankly. Stuck on Zoom, as it were. Although you do look better on Zoom than you do in person. Have you got some filter on or something?
Yeah, I've got the lovely beard and ear filter on, and it makes my ears sort of appear and disappear, which is really interesting.
Yeah, I have the same thing. If I move my head around a lot on Zoom, you can see that random bits of background picture appear. And it looks as if I've got more hair on my head than I actually have.
I hope your wallpaper's in decent nick anyway, Alex. That's all I'm saying.
Now, of course, I want to talk about Manx Blind Welfare because despite the fact that the lockdown is on, you guys still have services to provide. And by the look of it, you're still at work as well.
Absolutely, I am. So I've brought along a special guest today, just because somebody else is having to go for a change. So I've got the boss man on today. So remember, we've got to talk about how good I am and everything else when we're on this here. So I've got Ian Cool coming on today to have a chat to you guys.
Excellent stuff. So, but for social distancing, that means you've got to buzz off the screen and Ian has to jump in your place.
I've got to put my lovely mask on and move out of the way. So I'll see you in a bit.
Okay. See you in a bit. Oh, look at that mask. For people who are listening at home, by the way, the video is well worth watching on Facebook just to actually see that mask. And here's Ian. Afternoon, Ian. How are you?
It's good to see you, Alex. The Brindley interview always strikes fear into the heart of a man. I've steeled myself ready for this. So
I won't
do your worst.
I won't give you the Paxman treatment, I promise. Now, obviously, I mentioned to Dave there that despite the fact that we're in lockdown at the moment, you guys have still got services that you have to maintain. I mean, how's that going? What sort of services are you having to keep going throughout the lockdown?
Well, Alex, we've been very lucky. We've been able to continue most of our services. The only services that really have fallen a little bit by the wayside, and we've had to pause them for a while, are those that involve face-to-face services. But we've also, just as a consequence of COVID in some ways, we've learned quite a lot about ourselves. And we found that some of the IT, some of the technology out there has actually helped us to improve our reach to some of our members, which has been really exciting for us. But in terms of the services, most of them are operating, and I can talk to you about them if you like.
Please do, because I was going to say, I mean, what sort of services are up and running, and where are your staff? How do you? What are the practicalities of keeping all this going during lockdown?
Well, very fortunately, last year our trustees agreed to fund a new IT system, and I don't understand the trickery, Alex. I leave that to people like you and Dave Wilson. But all our staff now have a phone in their own homes, which rings on the Manx Blind Welfare 674-727 number, and allows them to pick the phone up and transfer calls between each other. Some of them have got laptops, but all of them who are working from home, and that's around about 60% of our staff are working from home. They are actually making contact with the more vulnerable and isolated members of the society every week. And that's great, and particularly important, you'll understand, for people who are visually impaired, who are already isolated from that visual connection with the world, and now they've got this opportunity to in some ways, to make up for the loss of contact by being able to have this telephone communication, which is so important for their mental well-being.
And I mean, what sort of services are you are you able to maintain throughout lockdown? Because you mentioned there, obviously, this telephone service. There must be some services that you've had to sort of think outside the box and say, with social distancing, we can't do that.
Yeah, you're right. Let's just talk about some of the services that are happening. You probably know we have an audio library here, and we're currently issuing between 100 and 130 audiobooks every week, which are delivered to people right the way around the island. Very important, because an audiobook quite often is the principal source of entertainment for somebody who's blind or visually impaired. And we're ably supported in that. And I just want to say thank you to the Isle of Man Post Office, who provide that free post service for us, and have helped us to maintain that vital service. Now, normally we issue around about 60 books a week, but I mentioned it's 120. So there's been a big increase in terms of the volume there. Our recorded news service, which is very well received around the island. I don't want to pretend it's a rival to Manx Radio, Alex, but we send out around about 100 items of news on memory sticks every week. And the really exciting thing is that we've been able now to include an online service, not only via our website, but also through Alexa. Now, I'm not a particularly gifted individual when it comes to IT. David Wilson is very lucky he has me, because once he's tested something on me, Alex, he knows the rest of the world can use it.
You're the litmus test for technology, is what you're saying.
Absolutely, I am that. That's as close as any science that I've ever been involved in, Alex. But it is fabulous, because that resource not just enables blind and visually impaired people to pick up on the local news, and particularly important messages about COVID at the moment, which I think, we'll pick them up on the radio, we might see them in the press, but it's really important that people can go back and listen to that message, and they can do that with our online service through Alexa or through our website. So that's been really good. I love the fact that, albeit we've just paused it for the last couple of weeks because of the high numbers of infections at the moment, we've also, in the last circuit breaker, we were providing hot meals, 2-course meals, to around about 75 members, 25 on Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, courtesy of our wonderful chef, and our volunteers who were able to do a doorstep drop-off. Now, I'm very anxious to get that back up and running just as soon as we can, but of course we're taking advice from the government on that. I love the fact that we have such a fabulous range of assistive technology for blind and visually impaired people. And whilst in some ways it's a worry that we've seen such a massive increase in people coming to us and asking for various things, I think Dave gave out last week a set of talking weighing scales for would-be chefs and people who are practicing their baking. And yesterday, he gave out a device I'd never seen before, a very simple device. It's we have a call from someone who they love to make bread, but they have a problem cutting the bread. Obviously, they don't want to chop their finger off. So we've got this really simple bit of technology where you slide a loaf of bread onto this little device, and it has a little ridge, a little guide in it where you can pop your knife in and you can cut your slices to any size that you like. It's just great.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. And I think on one of these occasions when we get Wilson back in the hot seat with you, Alex, it might be a good idea just to have a little go, maybe get you up here and we'll show some of the stuff, and maybe get some of our members to show you how beneficial it is to them. So, I'm doing all the talking here, Alex. I'm sure you've got other questions for me.
Well, no, I mean, the thing that I was going to ask, really, which would round all this up, is that you've almost whetted the appetite there with some of the technology that's available, the different way things are going. The question that's on my mind is if there are people listening now, or they're watching this video that we've uploaded to our social media channels and thinking that actually there are services there that I would benefit from throughout the lockdown, and I've not been able to get in touch. What's the simple way of making the first step to get in touch with you guys?
Well, I think picking the telephone up is the easiest way for most people, particularly those people who are blind and visually impaired. And when I say that, and I say it's simple, of course, emotionally it can be very difficult for people to make that first step in making contact with us and just recognizing the fact that they have a problem. But 674-727 is the number they need to call. They can send us an email to inquiries@mbws.org.im. Did you notice, Alex, I didn't have to look down?
I was impressed, yeah. This is the problem of doing stuff on Zoom, you see. You can't get away with that like you can on radio.
But Alex, when you get to my age, and there'll be other people out there a similar age to me, they'll tell you, this problem is coming to you as well.
I've got news for you. It's creeping in already in. So just remind us again, the phone number, and I'm going to put you on the spot again, and the web address. So if people want to get in touch.
Okay, good. Yeah. So the telephone number is 674-727. Email inquiries to inquiries@mbws.org.im. And our website is www.mbws.org.im.
Superb stuff. Thank you, Ian. Stay safe, and all the best to your volunteers and your members. And we look forward to speaking to Dave, possibly, hopefully, in person, maybe in a studio, so we can see that filter's not really, it's making him look far too good on Zoom. I'm not going to lie.
Well, a big thank you to you, Alex, for you and all that Manx radio staff are doing as well. I think you often get forgotten. And if I could just say, I want to say thank you to all the people in our community who are helping blind and visually impaired people at the moment. And in particular, I don't want to single out any particular service, but I would like just to thank the Department of Health and Social Care, and particularly the social care team, for the work they're doing, supporting individuals who are isolated in the community, some of whom are ours and some are vulnerable others. And what they're doing is absolutely outstanding, Alex.
Here. Thank you very much for that, Ian, and look forward to speaking to you again soon. Take care.
Good. Thank you.